and thank you for joining me. Today's question reads like this. Do we enter soul contracts and come here to learn lessons as many mediums claim? And why would we come here just to suffer? So this is an excellent question. And it is a very common question, and it is something that people are told time and time and time again, that we have agreements, these soul contracts or these soul agreements that we made before coming into this life. And the reason why we're told this is to help us get through some of the situations or suffering that we endure here on this life, this earthbound plane. So the first thing when someone asks me this question is I say, can you describe to me what you know of the other side of the veil? So is it loving? Is it unconditional love? Is it welcoming? Is it going home? Are your loved ones there? Are they going to meet you there? And if that is the case, then if we are in the presence of spiritual entities that love us unconditionally, why would someone or something come to us and say, last time you had a life experience on earth, you didn't learn something, and so we need to send you back to learn these lessons. And we are going to pair you, or you get to choose who you are going to pair with to experience these lessons with. Okay, so right now it's not that bad, I guess. I mean, if we have to come down here and we get to pick who we're coming down here with, then, maybe we are going to get into a little mischief and have some fun, who knows. But then this entity says, okay, so these are the things you didn't learn. You didn't learn what it was like to be physically abused. You didn't learn what it was like to be raped. You didn't learn what it was like to be a child and beaten to death, or almost to death. So you're at the point in the hospital in critical condition. You didn't learn what it was like to have cancer as a child, and your parents that you chose didn't know what it was like to have a child pass away from cancer or pass away from some accident. So that's what we need you to go down there and learn. So my question to you now would be, if you're a parent and if you love your child, unconditionally love your child, would you turn to your child and say, okay, rather than me explaining this to you or me protecting you, I'm not going to say explaining, me protecting you from this, this is a fork and that's a light socket. Now you're going to tell your child to go take the fork or the knife or whatever you want and go stick it in an active light socket. So if you're watching this video right now and you have a child right now, is that something you would do? I didn't think so. Or if you're walking down the street and you have your child with you or somebody you love, it doesn't even have to be your child, somebody you love, your very best friend, your spouse, your mother, your sibling, and there's a semi-truck coming, and someone says, your brother didn't learn what it was like to be hit by a semi-truck, and you didn't learn what it was like to murder somebody. Here's the opportunity. So you look at your brother and you're like, okay, here we go. Whoosh. Is that something you would do if you truly loved him unconditionally? How about yourself? If you truly loved yourself unconditionally, would you do that to another person? I didn't think so. So we're not here to learn heinous lessons. We're not here because we are learning what it is to suffer along a life that is from point A to point B, from our birth, not even our inception or conception, from our birth to our death. I just think it's cruel that if somebody goes to a medium or somebody that's in this kind of field, and someone goes there and they have suffered something tragic in their life, they were hurt in some way, shape, or form, physically or emotionally, and that human being that is the medium or whomever they're talking to says to that person that is coming to them, you planned this, you agreed to this, this was part of your soul contract. What that medium is doing is taking the responsibility off the predator and placing some of that responsibility on the injured. There is no child on the face of this planet that deserves to be treated cruelly. Not one. And there is no child on the face of this planet or anywhere else that is responsible for a predator attacking them. And to put any of that responsibility on the child is negligent. So, that's my thought on soul agreements. Now, did we choose our parents? Now, some people have near-death experiences and they come back and they say, I learned, I chose my parents. Now, that is a yes and a no. So, we're going to look at how it is a yes, because that will explain the no. Our overarching consciousness, our symphony of consciousness that I talk about, does line up to people to make a human being, a new human particle, okay? And that human particle begins at conception, because at conception, that is when this wholly unique, like we can't repeat it. My mouth is tongue-tied, and I know the word and you know the word, and my tongue is saying, I am not saying that word. So we can't duplicate it. We can't replicate it. There we go. And it will never, ever, ever happen again. And that starts at our conception. Our overarching consciousness decided, and our overarching consciousness is us, but it's not Marin. It is, like for me, it is not Marin. It is something far greater. It's like this overarching symphony. And it is picking two specific DNA codes, and I'm just saying that because we're going to kind of take the emotion out of it for a second so you can see. To create this unique particle, to observe how this combination reacts and responds and goes about an entire possibility of that life experience. And when I say entire possibility, like all of the possibilities, all the potentialities that this combination can play out as Marin, or I'm just using myself as an example, in this life experience, in order to create a whole, total, and complete life experience. Which means we're not going from point A to point B. We're not on a linear path. We're playing out every single possibility. And this body right now is potential. And the life experience, once it's done, becomes kinetic. And that's when it joins into this symphony that is absolutely spectacular, and there are no words to describe it once the veil is gone. So why would we come here just to suffer? We're not coming here just to suffer. We're coming here to experience this particular life, literally and figuratively, particle life, particular life. And we are playing out every scenario. Because we are going to work on extremes and do extreme examples, I'll use my own extreme example. And so that is my son at 22 years old passed away. And at that point, it's very dark and very heavy. But that is only one potential that his life played out. And that event in my life is only one potential of this life. And our veiled system in our brain is viewing all of the potentials, but it is such an intricately designed, veiled system that as it's observing and witnessing all of these different life potentials, each one is part of its own section inside that veil. And there's so many different trajectories. It's not just two trajectories. So there's so many different possibilities. So this is just one. And when we have these darker trajectories, that's when we really question, what in the world are we doing here? But for our consciousness, our overarching consciousness, all of this makes sense. We're playing out our karma. We're playing out every scenario. So we are not needing to come back as Marin, because we can never, ever, 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 ever come back as this particular life. I will never be able to re-enter this life as Marin. And you will never be able to re-enter this life as you. So it is very important that we experience and play out every single possibility that this life experience can do, which makes it whole, total, and complete. And it creates this amazing music note, this harmonious music note, because it has incredible depth, and it has incredible love and incredible compassion and humility, and when it all combines, it basically hums. It's absolutely spectacular. And this music note, once this body is done, joins our overarching consciousness, which is our symphony. And in that symphony, every single note inside that symphony is a life experience that is whole, total, and complete. So I hope that kind of answered those questions. And I will talk to you guys later. Thank you very much.